What's up, Greg?
Not much, man. Just running low on food, you know?
I feel you, man. I mean, I'm running fairly low myself. You got me on gas, though, right?
Yeah, but for sure. Perfect.
So, do you have my gas money?
Oh, well, I mean, I just figured since you were going to get groceries anyway, and I'd be going with you, yeah.
So you're not gonna give me any, are you?
Well, I'm just on a really tight budget, and my family isn't as well off as yours, so can you cut me some slack?
You literally offered to pay for gas when I picked you up. You use that excuse every time. I'm not your freaking chauffeur.
I never said you were.
You treat me like I am. Every single time you ask to go somewhere, you offer to pay for gas, and I haven't gotten a single dime.
Well, shit, man. I didn't realize a few bucks were such a big deal to you.
You know what? Just forget it. Don't expect me to take you anywhere anymore.
Well, that's not fair. I haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah, you have. You lie. You take me to get you to go everywhere, and what do I get? Nothing. I'm sick of it. It's selfish. You don't even say thank you when I take you. Who the hell do you think you are, man? I'm sick of it.
Screw you, man. That's not true. I say thanks.
No, you don't. You haven't once. Gas aside, a little gratitude would be nice. I mean, it's not hard to say thank you.
Where the hell did all this come from? You've never said anything about this before.
That's because I knew you'd react the same way you are right now. You always say you just can never pay, you never have enough money.
Wow. I see how it is. You're such a self-righteous person.
Greg, being a participant in that conversation that we just bore witness to, is going to give us a little background on himself, and we're gonna take a few questions. I'm going to ask him a few questions, and from those questions, I'm going to create a DAISY model, and from the DAISY model, I'm going to see if I can figure out maybe a little bit more about Greg, and possibly a little bit more about why he acted the way he did in the situation. So let's get started. Tell me a little bit about your family's financial background.
Well, I come from a working class family, so we're on the lower income end of things.
Okay. Do you have a car?
No, I don't.
That sucks, man. It really does.
Tell me about it.
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I do. I have an older brother. He's 34, so 14 years older than me. He's been a nice guy his whole life. He's always sort of made sure that I never really had to worry. He's been there for me, and I'm lucky to have him because he did a lot of things that I didn't have to.
Fair enough. Would you consider yourself having been, I don't know, coddled as a child, maybe pampered a little bit?
Yeah, I would say
honest.
so.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely say so because my mom was very attentive, and she made sure also that I had everything I needed, and she would always, if my dad would tell me to do something, she would always step in and be like, don't make him do it. So I've never really had to do many things because my mom and brother always just took care of me.
Okay. Kind of an off-the-wall question here, but if you promise something to somebody, do you follow through with it for the most part?
No, not really.
Okay, thanks for being honest. And finally, another money question. How cautious are you with the money that you have? You know, are you a saver or are you a spender? Yeah.
I'm definitely a saver. I try and get anything free and save money in any way that I can.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay, so now that we've heard from Greg, we have all this information here in the DAISY model. And the great thing about the DAISY model is that we can figure out a little bit about David just by some of the answers that he gave to some very specific questions, obviously. So when I asked him about his family's financial status, that was because in their conversation, or their argument, whatever you want to call it, there was clearly some tension financially. Greg clearly did not have a lot of money, and he was trying to save money wherever he could. That's why he was asking his buddy to take him to go get groceries, and that's why he was kind of resisting giving him gas money. And so that's where this lower income level comes in, is that his family didn't have a lot of money. And he grew up like that. He grew up kind of with the mindset of, oh, I need to save money whenever and wherever I can. And so that plays a big role in how this situation has played out. Second, the fact that he doesn't have a car means that he is probably a little self-conscious about, not being able to get places that he may need to be or may want to go. So him having a car or not having a car is kind of indicative of how, he kind of is reliant on other people to help him get what he needs. I don't want to use the word use, but it is sort of like that. Third, the fact that he has an older brother, and if an older brother that's 14 years older, that plays a big role in this because as that older brother, as he said, his older brother took care of him a lot. They spent a lot of time together. They do a lot of stuff together, and as an older brother, you take care of your little brother financially, emotionally, in all these different ways. And so when we talk about the older brother, we can assume that, his older brother kind of has maybe taken care of him a little bit too much in certain areas, and maybe in the manners area, because he, maybe he never had to say thank you for all the nice things that his older brother did for him, and that became a habit, and now he's not doing that with his friends, with the people that he should be showing gratitude to. 4, he was pampered by his mom. He said so himself. He, was always coddled. Whenever his dad told him to do something, his mom would come through and say, no, you don't have to do it, or kind of give him an out in some way. And so this kind of can lead to this entitled attitude, like I don't have to do anything. I'm not required to be responsible or to, really just do what most people do in that sense. And the 5th one, when I asked him whether or not he would follow through with something, that was clearly a very pointed question with regard to him offering in the first part of the conversation to pay for Johnny's gas, but then he turns around and doesn't, and then provides all these different excuses for why he can't. And really, this question is kind of the culmination of every single one of these, and that is that he didn't feel like he should have to pay just because Johnny was already going to the grocery store, which we don't really know if it's true or not, but we can assume so. That said, it's still usually good manners and just a good idea to follow through if you're going to promise to pay somebody money, gas money, to take you somewhere, and then after the fact you say, oh no man, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. That doesn't look very good on you, and it leads to friction like we saw, and it leads to your friends not wanting to take you anywhere after that. And finally, when I asked him about his kind of money tendencies, he told me he was a saver. He saves money because it's kind of hard to come by. He's a smart guy, but he's still working on making money. And so when he said he takes a lot of freebies, that's kind of indicative of how he may have thought that that situation, that car ride, or maybe even all the car rides that Johnny had given him, you know, as we heard about the past, since he'd done that multiple times before, maybe all the car rides that Johnny gives, he expects to be free just because they're friends, or, you know, because Johnny was going to go anyways. And so when we look at it from that perspective, we can see how all these different things kind of culminate into one and really shine on how David acts overall in this conversation. And so yeah, that's how it is. So with the DAISY model, we used different kinds of questions to get different types of answers, which revealed something about Greg's social world. Now that we have that information about Greg and about his social world, we can take that information and use it to help the participants in this URP resolve their issues and kind of work through them. So that's one of the main benefits of using the DAISY model of communication, of the coordinated management of meaning.
All right, so today I'm going to be telling you about the Serpentine model. The Serpentine model is one of the 3 models of coordinated management of meaning. So basically, I'm going to walk you through a URP in which we interviewed or filmed 2 individuals who are experiencing a URP. And I'm going to walk you through force. There are 4 main sources of logical force. You have prefigurative force, you have practical force, contextual force, and implicative force. And I'll explain them in further detail as I explain to you the Serpentine model. And then you have 2 rules, the constitutive rule and the regulative rule, and those both are enforced in the Serpentine model as well. So basically, we have Johnny. Turn 1 of the Serpentine model is when Johnny said, "Hey man, you have my gas money." From there you get a regulative rule. A regulative rule is like, basically describes the sequence of action. So in this situation, you know, Johnny's regulative rule would be like, I do all these favors and I don't ask for really anything in return. He's going to try to calmly confront Greg, who is the man who's been using his money and his gas for his adventures. So basically, the regulative rule, and then you have, in this situation, in this turn, the practical force. The practical force is like, it describes the connection between an action and the events desired to occur. I'm going to take you turn by turn through this model and tell you about each component that factors into a URP and analyzing it on a further basis. Basically, in turn 1, Johnny says, "Hey man, you have my gas money." This would, coming from this, there would be a regulative rule. A regulative rule is one that it describes kind of a sequence of action. And then the other rule, which we'll get into down here, is the constitutive rule. The constitutive rule is kind of how you interpret the what is being said by the other individual you were in the conversation with. This was a regulative rule, and if I were Johnny in the situation, you know, I would respond with something like, you know, I've let this kid use my car multiple times and haven't really asked for anything in return, like maybe try to calmly sit down and talk to him and see what happens. So that's turn 1. Turn 2, basically Greg responds to this and says, "You were going anyways, I'm on a tight budget." This transformation from turn 1 to turn 2 required a practical force. So Greg's response to turn 1 was, "You were going anyways, and I'm on a tight budget." This required a constitutive rule and a regulative rule. The constitutive rule was that Greg was kind of like taken back that he was asking him for the money because he hadn't really followed through on it before, and thought that he could kind of get away from it again. And then the regulative rule would be, you know, if I were Greg, I would probably be thinking like, I'm going to kind of sound like innocent and make him feel a little bit guilty for asking me for money because I'm not as well off as him. And that turn resulted in a practical and prefigurative force. Moving on to turn 3, Johnny says, you offered to pay for gas and now you're backing out. His regulative rule is, I just won't hold it in anymore, I have so much frustration. And his constitutive rule is frustrated, trying to pull the money card, I'm over it at this point. And then this turns into the next turn, but the force that creates the next turn is a prefigurative force. And then this brings you to turn 4. In turn 4, Greg says, I didn't realize a couple bucks was such a big deal. Basically, the constitutive rule is I'm not using him, so Greg feels like he's not using Johnny, and Johnny feels like he has. And the regulative would be, rule would be I should react defensively, somewhat innocent, and try to pull the money card on him so that he feels a little bit guilty. This goes into turn 5 with prefigurative and contextual force, because it's leading into how Johnny will respond, and due to the situation and how the conversation is gone, it will be contextual force. And then prefigurative, Greg is expecting another reaction from Johnny. The Serpentine model is very helpful in understanding the way individuals communicate with one another, especially within URPs. These rules and forces allow one who is learning about the Serpentine model or is using the Serpentine model to take a step back and take on a new perspective of the conversation being made between these two individuals. What's up, Greg?
What's up, man? Just, not much, just running low on food, you know?
Yeah, man, I feel you, dude. Me too. I'm gonna reload myself. Hey, I don't mean to be a pest, but you offered to pay for gas.
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, perfect, man. Wow, thank you. Hey man, not to be a bother or anything, but do you by chance have gas money?
Well, okay. So, I mean, I figured since you were, like, coming with me and you were gonna go anyways, that, you know, it would just be kind of fine. So.
Okay, look, I hate to be like this, and I don't want to be on you like this, but as a friend and as someone who like really cares about you, I need a text.
Okay. What's on your mind?
I haven't really had the opportunity to express to you the feelings I've really had towards you when we hang out. There are a lot of things that kind of irritate me. What I mean by this is, when you ask me to take you somewhere, you always offer to pay for gas, but I never see the money. Like, where is it?
Well, I mean,
Hang on. I didn't want to have this conversation while we were angry. I knew that really wouldn't solve anything. Yelling and screaming doesn't really do anything but escalate feelings that we don't want to express. But I just feel like you don't realize you're doing it, and that's why I wanted to bring it
mean, personally, I don't feel like I'm taking advantage of you, and I mean, I don't want you to feel like that. But at the same time, I mean, I don't have a car, and then I guess that kind of puts me in like an awkward situation, like all the time when I need to go get stuff and shit like that. So, I mean, but you know what? You're right, and I'm sorry that I make you feel this way. Money for me is tight, but it's not really an excuse. And yeah, so from now on, I'll try to be more conscious of it. And if I do it again, call me on it so I don't slip up. Yeah. Anything else?
Just one more thing. Would it kill you to say like a please or thank you?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that too. I know I'm starting to realize that I don't really